Nduka was a man who believed in holding his money tightly, as though it were his very soul. He was tall, stern-faced, and had a way of speaking that made people think he was the wisest man in the room. "I grew up poor," he often said, puffing out his chest whenever his wife, Martha, asked him for anything extra. "You don't know what it means to sleep on an empty stomach. That's why I don't waste my resources. Money is not plucked from trees." At first, Martha tried to understand. Before they got married, she believed his being miserly was a sign of responsibility. But after marriage, as the years went by, his stinginess became unbearable. He would wear clothes until they faded. He refused to buy her decent clothes, never gave her enough money for her needs or feeding. Worst of all, he stopped her from working. He believed he was the head in everything. He was so stingy that he used a tape to measure the yam they would eat. He measured bread. He measured everything and kept a record of everything in the kitchen. Sometimes, he even did the shopping himself. Friends and family were not exempted from his tight-fisted nature. Instead of helping, he would tell long stories about his early struggles and end them with a motivational speech. He often grumbled whenever Martha cooked something special or used more than one piece of meat. Even their only son, Chike, suffered under Nduka's rigid hand. The boy wore worn-out sandals to school, and sometimes his classmates mocked him for carrying an old, torn bag. Martha would beg her husband to replace it, but he always had the same response. "When I was his age, I used to walk to school barefoot. That's how children grow tough. Stop trying to spoil him with luxury." Martha swallowed her anger for the sake of peace. But deep inside, resentment grew like a seed. One humid evening, Chike returned from school shivering. Martha touched his forehead and gasped. It was burning hot. "Nduka, Chike is running a high fever," she said, rushing to where her husband sat reading an old newspaper. Nduka glanced at the boy and waved his hand dismissively. "It's an ordinary headache. Give him paracetamol. He'll be fine." Martha frowned. "This is serious. He needs to see a doctor." Nduka scowled. "Doctor? For fever? That's how people waste money. Give him paracetamol like I said, he'll be fine. Or you can pray. Don't you know prayer works better? If you can't pray for him, take him to church. Pastor John will pray for him." Martha stared at him in disbelief. "Nduka, this is our son's life we are talking about. He needs proper medical care. You and your expensive ideas," Nduka snapped. "Do you think money falls from the sky? I will not throw away my hard-earned cash on some hospital bill. People survived worse things in the village without hospitals." Martha wanted to scream, but instead, she carried Chike into their bedroom. She stayed awake all night, sponging his body with water. But by dawn, his breathing grew shallow, and he could barely open his eyes. She ran back to Nduka, who was just waking up. "Nduka, please, we need to take him to the hospital now. He's getting worse." Nduka rubbed his eyes, irritated. "Wait until after church. The pastor's prayer will do the job." Martha left with tears in her eyes. Nduka left for work, still maintaining his stance. For days, she was nursing Chike at home, hoping for a miracle. On the fourth day, in the afternoon, Mama Emeka, her friend and fellow church member, came visiting. She looked concerned, explaining that she hadn't seen Martha in church for days. That was unusual. She walked in and found Martha sitting by little Chike, gently nursing him. But the moment she got closer, she froze. Her eyes widened in shock. "Oh my God. Martha," she shouted, rushing to the boy's side. "Why is this child so pale? And is burning up? What have you been waiting for? Take this child to the hospital. What have you been waiting for?" Martha's eyes welled with tears as she shook her head helplessly. "Mama Emeka, I have no money. My husband didn't give me anything," she said, her voice breaking. Mama Emeka didn't hesitate. "Enough of that. Go and get dressed this instant. I'm taking you both to the hospital." Within the hour, they were at the hospital. The doctor's expression grew grave as he examined Chike. You're lucky you brought him in now, he said, shaking his head. If you had delayed any longer, you would have lost him. He has acute malaria, severe typhoid, and he has lost a lot of blood. Martha gasped, fresh tears streaming down her face. Why did you wait so long to bring him here? The doctor asked sternly. There was no answer, only her quiet sobs. Without wasting time, the doctor ordered that Chike be admitted and placed in intensive care. Nurses hurried in, setting up drips and preparing blood transfusions as Martha stood frozen, her heart pounding in terror and relief all at once. Nduka, completely unaware of what had happened, returned home to an empty house. The silence unsettled him. After asking neighbors and making frantic inquiries, he learned they were at the hospital. Without wasting a second, he rushed there, fear clawing at his chest. When he arrived, the sight that greeted him nearly broke him. Chike laid almost lifeless on the hospital bed, pale and weak. Martha sat beside him, sobbing bitterly, her face buried in her hands. Nduka felt his knees weaken. He had never seen his son look so fragile, so close to death. Before he could speak, the doctor approached with a sharp tone. Mr. Nduka, the doctor said, this boy has acute malaria, severe typhoid, and has lost a lot of blood. You people waited too long before bringing him here. Do you know what self-medication and delay can cause? If you had arrived a little later, you would have lost him. The words hit Nduka like a slap. He stood there, speechless, guilt and regret washing over him. I could have lost him. His chest tightened. He blamed himself, his stinginess, his stubbornness, his refusal to act when Martha begged for help. I've been a terrible father, he thought. All because I held on to money. I almost lost my son. Nduka slowly sank to his knees beside Martha, his hands trembling as he reached for hers. Martha, his voice cracked. I'm so sorry. Martha looked at him, her eyes swollen from crying, but she said nothing. I was wrong, he continued. I was foolish, stubborn, stingy. I thought I was doing the right thing by holding on to money, but I almost killed my own son. Please forgive me. I will never be that man again. Martha's lips trembled. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she stayed silent, her eyes fixed on their child. My son, Nduka whispered, brushing Chike's weak fingers, Daddy is sorry, so sorry. That night, Nduka didn't leave the hospital. He stayed by Chike's bedside, holding his small hand, whispering prayers, and silently promising himself that if God gave his son another chance, he would change, for good. Chike's condition slowly improved over the following days. Each morning, Nduka was the first to arrive at the hospital. Each night, he slept in the hard chair beside his son's bed. Martha watched quietly, unsure what to make of this new version of her husband. When Chike finally opened his eyes and managed a weak smile, Nduka broke down completely. He hugged his son gently, whispering, "Thank you, God, thank you." From that day on, Nduka was not the same man. He became more attentive, not just to Chike but to Martha as well. He made sure Chike's medications were always available. At home, he became softer. He no longer backed orders or hoarded money like before. One evening, he handed Martha a bundle of money for household needs. She looked at him, surprised. "Buy whatever you need for the house," he said firmly. "Buy things for yourself too. And if Chike needs anything at all, you don't have to ask me twice. Just get it. You can also look for work, if you still want to." Martha blinked, speechless. And he meant it. Over time, even neighbors and friends noticed the change. The once notoriously stingy Nduka had become generous, not just to his family, but to others. At church, he quietly paid hospital bills for sick members, never announcing it, just doing it because he now understood the value of life over money. For the first time in a long time, there was peace in Martha's heart. And though the scars of the past couldn't vanish overnight, she could see her husband's change was real. The fear of losing his son had broken him. But it had also rebuilt him into a better man.